Who are you as a human, as a soul, as a unique individual, and how can you use that as your launch pad for your own business expansion instead of condensing yourself into a box, into someone else's idea of who you should be or what it should look like or how you should sound?
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. I'm so grateful to be with you. We have another incredible guest. Are you feeling like you've been doing all the strategies out there and like it's not working to build your spiritual business? Well, I've got the perfect guest to help you to break through that whole situation. And guess what? It's just going to require for you guys to trust yourself a little bit more, right? You need to trust yourself. You need to listen more fully to yourself more than anything else. But I have a master guide for that, so you can actually listen to yourself more, realize maybe you have more of the answers than you realize, and maybe all these strategies and everything are just getting in the way. It's just mind candy, isn't it? So anyway, I'm so grateful to have you on the show today, Melanie.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here with you, Daniel.
Yeah, isn't it fun? I have so much fun. Yeah, getting sucked into that stuff in the past. I wouldn't say recently, but like the seven figures or whatever the different eight. I'm eight figures. I'm 100 figures, whatever they are, and they're like, just do my system, right? Especially the hooks they come up with for like, and maybe they're good, I don't know, but like the hooks for like videos or reels, I guess these days and like just doing these wow, hey, or whatever, like all the weird things we have to do to, I mean, they're fun, right? But like we have to do weird stuff, and like we go to try all these different things, whether it's something like that, or we try to do the funnel thing and hook this up to that, and if they click on that, then like we could go in five different directions, and like oh, I'm gonna have to work on this at least a year, then I'll be ready to launch. And like, man, there's so many things that trip us up because we're trying to follow these formulas. So I'm glad you're on to talk about, this subject. And we're gonna get into your story, but like, tell me about like what's one of your pet peeves around what you see out there that what's being taught with these all these different methodologies and hooks and all the different things you can do to basically you're manipulating people. I mean, I'm fine with persuading people, but it just seems like it's this is how you get them, and like there's not a sense of like heart-centered, connection with the audience with a lot of those methods.
Yeah, and some of them may work for some people, but I feel like they're marketed as this is the thing, and this is the thing you need, and this is what will make you successful. And I'm partly why I wanted to speak to this today is because I have been down those roads before and have, invested tens of thousands of dollars and hours into looking for what is that golden nugget. And what I discovered through trial and error mostly and through experience, that's how I often learn, it seems, these initiatory patterns, is that if we simply look to somebody else and somebody else's strategy, which it may have worked for them, there may be truth in that, but it will not provide us the success, the inner fulfillment, that sense of what is correct for us. I'm not talking about right or wrong or good or bad, but what is correct for our own true alignment. And that's what I'm most interested in for myself and working with my clients is looking at who are you as a human, as a soul, as a unique individual, and how can you use that as your launch pad for your own business expansion instead of condensing yourself into a box, into someone else's idea of who you should be or what it should look like or how you should sound. And now we're just getting a really monotonous tone that everybody's sounding the same. And now with AI, we've got even more sludge on top where it's just many things are sounding generic.
Right, right. I do know with the work that I do with AI, because I do work with it, you can get it to where it will get it more and more unique, but you have to really work at it. You need to work to get it to hit the right notes and basically, got to feed it the right information, right prompts and all that stuff, right? So I mean, so no, you're right. I mean, like you basically started with this. Like it can work, like nothing's wrong. Like in fact, I got a sequence going on right now that Kate was generated through information, extensive information that I gathered from another AI program. We put a lot of energy information into it. It spilled out a lot of information. Then we spilled all the information in the AI. Then we spill more information. It's like you do all this stuff. It's like we're in the lab. Like, okay, this looks pretty good now, right? So it's gonna be fun to do. And then a lot of when I do content emails, like that's just me. I don't go to my AI and all that stuff. For that. I just, speak from the heart and I know, copywriting, secrets or whatever and stuff like that. But like I use that a little bit, but like I'm looking to really connect with people more than anything from there. So there's different ways that I think like we're trying to find like what is the best approach. And I always find like, yeah, there's like solutions that we can get from our intuition that we're never going to get from necessarily from the AI, right? And we're overcomplicated. We're spending hours on AI trying to figure stuff out when it could be as simple as a 2-minute sit with your intuition. That's what I think is hilarious, actually.
Yeah, it can be counterproductive in that sense.
Yeah. So I know you've got you've had a big journey. You've got a lot of big stories, you could share with the audience about your own personal journey. And I think it matters because like that's what's really why people aren't trusting their intuition. And then my guess is if you're like most of us, right, there was a time when you didn't really trust your intuition enough or fully, right? And so can you tell us about, because I think that's what it comes down to. Are we taking the time to really get connected and follow that? The voice or the nudges, the intuition. So can you tell us about your journey and what led you to get out there, want to help, the healers, the spiritual entrepreneurs with getting aligned and, listen to their intuition to build their businesses?
Absolutely. So I went to university and studied contemporary dance, in fact, and it was in my last year of that 4-year MFA program that I got injured quite badly and couldn't dance. So that took me on a journey traveling and working in New Zealand. And while I was in New Zealand, I would say it was the first sort of time that I began to notice these spiritual connections and synchronicities and activations and things were really coming online for me. And I was quite young, so I'm not sure if I was fully aware of what was happening at the time. But on that trip of being in New Zealand for 9 months, I met a Swami and I didn't know even what that was at the time. And he had invited me along with his family. They were going to the Bihar School of Yoga, which is a yoga university in India that following fall. And I just knew that was an intuition where I was like, I have to go. I just knew in that instant I needed to be there. And that experience of living in the ashram for 5.5 months. I shaved my head. I got a spiritual name. It really felt like it shifted the trajectory of my life in a deep way. And when I came back from India, I began teaching yoga. Not, and this was before there was a yoga studio on every corner. This was
Yeah.
really early days in the yoga scene, so to speak. And I didn't want to be a yoga teacher per se. I wasn't like, I'm going to go be a yoga teacher. I was good at it. I'm a natural teacher. I had the dance background. I was definitely in alignment with yoga. I was fascinated by every part of it. The ashram that I lived at was based in karma yoga. So it was work all day long and bhakti, the devotion. And so I learned a really different side of yoga apart from the postures and the more physical aspect. It was not really, that wasn't emphasized at all. And throughout that process and years, I ended up owning a yoga studio in Vancouver in Canada and taking groups of students on pilgrimages to India. And on one of those trips, I got extremely, extremely sick. And it was one of those strange things that by the time I got back, like 9 months later to Canada and got it looked at, the doctors had no clue. They were like, "We don't know." I went to the foreign disease specialist. They had no idea what was actually wrong. So they called it post-viral fatigue syndrome. You have an autoimmune condition. There's nothing we can do to help you. And I was devastated by this because I was hoping they would just say, "Here's what it is. Take this or do this and you'll be fine." And it wasn't. It was this enigma. And so I enrolled in a college to study Ayurvedic medicine. And so I went through a 3 year program of studying Ayurvedic medicine and not knowing fully as I was going through that I would actively work as a clinical Ayurvedic specialist. But by the time I finished that program, I thought everybody in the world needs this. Like everyone needs to understand their unique nature and their constitution and how that interplays with the five elements externally. It felt so right in every part of my being. And so I began to heal myself using the principles of Ayurveda. However, it this wasn't a quick fix. This was a process of nearly a decade long. And a few years into my Ayurvedic studies and practice, I came across a form of energy healing called bioenergy. And I began to study that and recognizing that the deeper layers of psycho-emotional blockages were preventing me from fully healing. I also went through a really grueling divorce around that time and was confronted with myself and the pain inside that I had never looked at. I didn't have the tools to look at it. I was fairly young and this wasn't something that my peers were talking about or even at that time there was no social media. It wasn't popular. So I felt quite alone through that healing process, but found that the energetic piece was essential. And I became very interested in the psycho-emotional component of imbalance and disease. And so my Ayurvedic practice really morphed and changed and shifted, was dealing with people on that deeper energetic level while still looking at, the physical and how Ayurveda addresses certain illnesses and imbalances.
Hmm.
I just found it really shifted things for me. So through that, I started coaching people on a holistic level. We're going to look at your physical, we're going to look at the mental, we're going to look at the emotional. And this is essentially Ayurveda has always said that you can't compartmentalize somebody. You can't just say, "Oh, let's look at your liver," and not look at the whole ecosystem of the body, mind, psychological, energetic blueprint. So it was really through that my business began to shift and change. And the deepest desire to serve and to help whoever feels drawn to learn from me or study from me or have me facilitate a healing with them, that really spurred me onto studying business, small business, and literally daily was listening to podcasts and reading blogs and studying with different teachers. That was the early days. I knew that it was important that I understood business, even though that wasn't really my interest. My interest was healing. My interest was I was a healer. However, if
Hmm.
nobody knows that you exist, or if you have a hard time communicating what you do, then it's very difficult to have a greater impact. So that's how I got really excited about the business side of things and understanding how to communicate. Uh, I was very allergic to the word marketing or sales, any of these things. I had a very hard time with, and I think a lot of heart-centered,
Right.
sensitive empaths and healers have a hard time. It feels abrasive. It feels like a different world and one that most of us would rather not be part of. But
Right. Ooh, marketing and sales is
I
basically the response. Yeah.
exactly, and I get it, and it's still an edge for me, and yet I know that if we don't understand how to communicate about what we do, it's going to be difficult to help the people we're truly here to serve. So that's how my business has kind of ebbed and flowed and developed. I've written 3 books, and those have all shifted through the time period. The first one's on Ayurveda and yoga. The second book was called Living After Loss, A Soulful Guide to Freedom. And that was inspired through my previous partner's sudden suicide, which was a big part of my healing journey as well. Because after that event that was absolutely shocking and debilitating, I had I didn't have to. I chose to really lean into the reprogramming of my own consciousness, of my beliefs, of my nervous system, of the energy that I carried because I didn't want I didn't want to live after that incident. I didn't want to be here. I was in so much pain, and yet I knew I needed to be here and ultimately wanted to be, but I just was in such grief. So everything that I teach in that second book in Living After Loss is how I healed from that. And I'm not going to say like there's ever an end to layers of grief that we experience in this human realm. However, I train myself like one would train for a marathon or anything, in fact, building those muscles of being conscious about what thoughts am I giving my attention to and redirecting the prana, redirecting the energy through my system so that I could operate from a place of wholeness and not lack and scarcity and fragmentation. Which is
Mhm.
really the same principles. This is what I love about it. The same principles that we're working with in healing are the same principles that we're working with in creating a business,
Right,
ultimately.
isn't that interesting? Well, one of the things I say, and it's not completely related maybe to what you're saying, but what I have told people, I says, when I've gone on my rants about the marketing and selling, which of course, even myself, I think I take to a lot better than other, healers, but like types, but I would have some of the, oh, I just can't stick. Why would just give freely and just have a good time? Like I have that idea too. I had that actually when I was really struggling with my business in the beginning. So, but one of the things that I've noticed is that as far as like this whole idea that sales is wrong, I always tell people like, look, you're basically when you go to do your energy healing, what do you think you're doing? You're actually selling, their energy to shift. I mean, so if you're not willing to sell, you think selling's bad, but then you're a healer. So how that doesn't make any sense to me at least. So, but I get it. I get why, the usual, ideas that we're manipulating people, like they say they use car salesmen and stuff like that. But like to realize like you can trust yourself. You're not one of those people. Just trust yourself to be enrolling. It's beneficial to people to use smart marketing to help get their attention and then to sell somebody because it can help change their life. I mean, that is what's going to help change their life. You got to help them to be open and receptive and be willing to change. And that's what we use marketing and sales for. So just like when you use your techniques in healing to help someone change. So that's how I've talked about it. How do you talk about it? Because I'm like fascinated by what you said because I know it's a bit different on how you would explain it or a lot different. So I'd love to hear your take on how it's very much the same type of thing.
Yeah, and this has taken me many years. It was actually my bioenergy healing teacher. We were doing a segment on the first and second chakras, and at this time, I remember putting my hand up and I said to him, I was like, I feel literally like feel bad taking money from people. He just looked me square in the eyes and he's like, so you can help more people if you're poor? And
Right.
something about that statement really hit me because I had been really struggling financially most of my adult life. My ex-husband and I were living below the means, in a basement suite with dingy lighting, eating beans and rice because that's all we could afford while running our yoga studio. And
Mhm.
and then after I got sick, I didn't have any funds for health or healing. I didn't have any funds to help myself. And
Mhm.
I actually got a scholarship for the Ayurveda college or a part scholarship. Uh, but I see now that, gosh, if I had had the resources financially to have greater support that could have expedited my healing. And so there's this real, I think for a lot of healers, myself included, it's this separation that we believe in, that the material is bad and the spiritual is good. This was really drilled into us, I believe, in my ashram training, just through the nature of it, and that somehow materialism is bad. And
Yeah.
so I had to really do a lot of the deeper inner work around this. It's our shadow that is believing in separation, which is the very thing that we know if we're in separation, if we're in fear, if we're in doubt, our healing is not effective. We cannot
Mhm.
be effective healers if we are not actually aligned with the truth of who we are, if we're not really receiving and being open to source energy. If we go into ego, and the ego is the one that says, oh, who am I to charge for this service? I was the same. I gave everything away. And
Mhm.
it felt so much easier. It felt so good just to give, give, give until
Yeah. So
I'm
the
sick
bills come in.
can't pay my rent. I can buy literally
Right.
beans and rice, and
Right.
I really realized that's a misunderstanding of our relationship to material
Mhm.
items, to money, and essentially to
Mhm.
source. We're saying there's God, divine, the universe, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, and then there's money.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. Yeah, like
How
it's a
can that
separate
be?
thing. Yeah, right, right. Yeah, yeah. It's a separate thing, you know. There really is evil and money is it, you know, like sort of some of that kind of idea. The root of all evil, right? That's
Yeah.
it's money and all that stuff still in our consciousness in there. So yeah, I mean, yeah, when I always reference this when I was channeling Jesus around money, you know, he took me to the top of the earth and just had me look down and he says, "This is all yours." That was his comment on money. In other words, and then more directly, I got the messages of like, well, you want things to be different with the way things are with, financial wealth in the world or whatever circulation. Well, the best way you can do that is to, embrace it and circulate with abundance and love. And, and if there's a better system for things to happen, it will naturally happen, as you evolve with the system you already have. So is
Yeah.
what I was told anyway. And so that's, these different ways we have of going inside, doing the deeper work, like I said, are what help us break free of all those ideas of like, we shouldn't charge, we should just, who are you trying to serve, sister, yourself or, humanity, right? Those type of voices come around, right? And it's like, I don't know. I think there's a place for everything. There's a time, for people to do that, to give their services away. And I always tell people, even if people that charge a lot of money for their services, they're usually doing tons of free healing and stuff anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a room for everything. And, it's just like if you actually want to prosper and you have a healing business or a spiritual entrepreneur business, you finally want to prosper, then you just gotta do the inner work to let it happen. I imagine that's part of what you help with too.
Yeah, it is, the path of entrepreneurship. It's going to trigger our deepest survival patterns. Money,
Hmm.
visibility, judgment, rejection, old identity, wounds that are embedded in the nervous system. And so it's such a powerful opportunity to bring healing because we will be confronted with all of the uh, places that we're stuck inside ourselves, that all of the places that we haven't allowed the divine in will show up in our entrepreneurial journey. That's what's kind of exciting about it. I was speaking with my assistant today and I said, it looks like I'm running a business, but that's not what's happening here. I'm actually just on a spiritual journey. And there's this thing that we're calling like running a business. It's all about my growth. And yes,
Hmm.
I feel very blessed and privileged to be able to support others and facilitate for others' growth as well. But ultimately, I see that everything I bump up against is for me to activate the dormant parts. And when
Hmm.
I do that deeper work, which seems endless and relentless and infinite,
Yeah.
well, then
Yeah.
I have expanded my capacity to
Hmm.
be in greater wholeness, and therefore I can serve more. So it is essential. I'd say it's a requirement for us healers to do the inner work around money, around what we think money is, or around how we might be resisting it or blocking it. Because
Yeah.
think about it. Imagine if all the kind-hearted people carried the wealth on this planet. It would be a very different planet. And so having humans that are loving and conscious and wanting to do good with resources, this is who we are the ones that need to have the money.
Right.
And stop pushing it away, stop pretending that, oh, I'm not all about the money. Of course you're not. Of course, that's not our, original motivation, but we can't deny that it's an important factor in this 3D reality.
For spiritual entrepreneurs and healers that are having a lot of problems with money, I would say start becoming all about the money right now because you won't end up being all about the money. But like that's probably the attitude you need. And I know like when I was emerging and growing at first, there were other healers around me that are like, he's just all about the money. I'm like, yeah, we're in business. Hello. Like, of course I'm about the money. Like, it's got to be about the money. You leave that one go. You're not going to help people. You're gonna have to go get a job. You're gonna have to just do it part time. You're gonna be begging, scraping. I did all that stuff, right? All the different horror stories financially. Most of them I've been there, right? Can't even buy beans and rice. Can't even go that far. Got a family to feed. I mean, and the reason I bring it up is like you have experienced, I have experienced, you in many ways, and I know me in business in many ways too. I've had a dark night of the soul, so to speak. Like I don't know. It feels like thousands of times in this lifetime, not even including the past lives, right? And it's like, and yet, I know that's in the minute you think you're done, it's another one might be right around the corner, right? I'm so happy in my life right now. Everything's great. Yeah. The next turn could be at any moment. Like, whoa, what has hit me, right? I've seen people, incredible spiritual teachers that just like have been just taken out like by density like just they were so happy they were being prosperous, they're doing incredible work, and not just the person I mentioned before we got on, like that's just one person that had a health issue, but like just like even ones that have also killed themselves, like I've had a friend that did that, and it's just so my point is like we're not, it's never a done thing, and I think that's again I always talk about that a lot on this show. We're never done, guys. Even when you get in those big samadhis and everything, oh, everything's beautiful. I can't, everything's wonderful all the time, but it doesn't usually last. Even if it lasts a year or two or years, like doesn't mean it's going to last forever. I'm not trying to be a Danny Downer or whatever. I'm just saying like it's my point is when you run into the stuff like you're talking about, Melanie, we've chosen hard paths, right? We're like, I want a life of comfort and just let me coast this life. Like those aren't the lives you've chosen if you're listening to this podcast. I know it, right? You've chosen like, give me the challenges. I just want to do the things. I'm ready for it, but then you're still being shy about it, right? Sometimes you're still like running around it, but the more you're willing to charge forward and do this entrepreneurial thing and embrace the whole journey, you're right. I mean, there's few things that can, kind of I don't know, force you or whatever, or cajole you to grow more because it's like you need that money, right? So it's like that thing keeps coming. I need that money, and that keeps coming up, and it hits our survival, mechanisms, right? So it's like it's very big stuff.
Yeah, and it's part of if any of the listeners are bumping up against money, abundance, prosperity stuff, it's there for the healing. And it's probably ancestral. It's probably learned. It's probably, been embedded in the nervous system. And it's not reality. It's not the way that you have to continue living your life, but it requires that inner work, that honesty, And then that shift of identity from the one who thinks and believes and acts like I did, years ago, beans and rice. I just had a memory pop in, Daniel, from my ex-husband and I. We were waiting on Vancouver Island to get in the ferry lineup in our car. We had been given this old beater, essentially from a friend who was going to throw the car in the garbage or the dump or wherever they take cars. And we were waiting in the ferry lineup, and then it was time for all the cars to drive onto the ferry, and our car wouldn't start. And so
Hmm.
we had my ex-husband had to get out and like started pushing the car, and you can move the car and run because there was a bit of a downward hill. So he's running with the car so that we could get it ignited. And in that moment, amongst all these people, nobody in their SUVs, sitting there in their air conditioning, nobody came over to help. I remember feeling like humiliated and then also angry of all these people. And what are this was my, my inner child was so upset. Like all these people, whatever they do in the world, maybe some are contributing in a positive way, maybe some are not. But why are we having to push our car to try and start it here? It just didn't make sense and brought up that feeling of we're good people. We're here. We're really trying to make a difference. And the universe doesn't care if you think you're a good person. It's going to match your identity and the frequency
Hmm.
that you carry. And I needed to do a lot of inner work to shift my beliefs about myself and my worth, and that it didn't have to be hard, and that I didn't have to be the one that suffered to make sure others were healthy or happy or prosperous.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can't charge because they can't afford it, but I can't let them suffer. It turns into that
Yes.
kind of thing too.
Yes.
My thing was just a kind of spiritual bypass when I would do enrollment at first. I'd be like, because I do these scans. We'll do a little scan with you later, but like do the scans. I'll be like, okay, I see this, I see that, I see your wounds, I see your gifts, whatever. I see all this stuff. But you know what? I think you're gonna be fine. Like because I see your perfection. I see your whole and well, and that's what I know. But I do offer services if you're interested. You want to talk about like just killing the sale? Like that is the best way to kill the sale. You know, even to this day though, I teach sales. I mean. I, I can be extremely powerful and compelling in sales in a good way, and I'm sure there was a few people that felt like I wasn't doing it in a good way, but mostly, people have come in a really good way working with me, and those people are just because like I'm just so dogged sometimes if I feel like you need to be helped. But anyway, but my point is like even for me, I need constant re-guidance, redirection, guidance, like I redirect myself a lot, I self-evaluate, but like my wife is telling me, she's like, so those old clients, you get on calls with, and then sometimes you try to talk to them about joining something else. And you know how you like tend to just start coaching them right away? Stop doing that. I want you to start imagining I'm right over your shoulder. I'm saying, stop it. And every time they tell you they got this or that going on, they don't know what to do. Tell them how you can help them through your services. If from your heart chakra, you're like, oh my God, I can't do that, right? But I didn't go there because like I'm okay with that. Like I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I should be doing. Okay. But like my older self probably at some point in the past, yeah, and the healer archetype is like, that is horrible. You just give, and maybe you can help them more after that, but you don't withhold and play those games. And it's like, well, it's just valuing yourself. If you're giving away like the store, I mean, they're just gonna say, "Hey, thanks for the candy. That's good enough for now, right?" So we got to really watch that overgiven thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And look at what's underneath that, right? That's the
Yeah.
place of like, well, what's motivating me to, because I've everything you've just spoken about, I've done all of those things.
Right.
It's so much easier to do those things because it does feel more aligned with our nature, right? To give. And
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I found is most healers can't receive. very difficult time receiving. And underneath that, so often is this root, like this core wound of unworthiness. And so we'll overcompensate sometimes, right? Well, if I just give and give and give, then I can prove my worth, or I can prove my value, or then I can feel better about myself because I've helped someone today. And that's all that matters,
Yeah, yeah. College cheese. Yeah, right.
right? But
Yes.
that's the shadow. That's the shadow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the money shadow stuff is really big. And when we start to see and dig into those energies, so how do you help people with that? How do you help? I love to talk shop. I love to talk about money shadows. So how do you help people with their money shadows?
Yeah, well, I have a money program, Wise, Wild, and Wealthy, where really what we're
Hmm.
doing, we're looking at the cognitive beliefs and limitations, and then I do go under into the subconscious and work with the energetic reprogramming through things like a process called theta healing. I'm an
Hmm.
excellent questioner. I ask really good questions of my clients to elicit their own inner wisdom and their inner knowing.
Hmm.
Find that being a mirror for someone and being an activator for someone's greatness and potential so they can see it. But then what most people wobble around, and this is where I think ongoing coaching can be so helpful, is the embodiment of the new identity, so to speak, which is actually your original identity. It's not pretending you're someone else. It's who you are when all the layers have been peeled back. And what
Hmm.
remains is that soul self, that
Hmm.
higher self who is not living in scarcity or fear, who is
Yeah.
operating from their wholeness. But all of our programming on top of that makes it very difficult to access our intuition and our knowing. And that's why so many people are like, well, let me do that strategy and let me follow that person's funnel and let me do that because they don't trust themselves. They don't trust that they
Hmm.
do know. And I'm not saying that any of those things are bad or wrong or that getting support. Look, I'm a coach. I mentor people. So, and I believe in it and I get mentored. But if we
Hmm.
are constantly externally resourcing ourselves because it's easier than connecting to our own inner knowing, it's very difficult to make that transformation. But essentially, the work that I do inside these programs, it's alchemy. It's alchemy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Getting from one state.
Yeah. Right, right. I mean, the way I work with it is shift whatever the contraction or shadow is into its real state, which is an expanded state, right? So once the energy turns on, it's like now we're going to be party animals. Now we're not going to be all suppressed and feeling imprisoned. We can't do it and whatever. Like else, and it's like, wow, and
Yeah.
so yeah, we open up those energy gates, and yeah, I mean, it's tempting. I think the whole idea, like I am reading again, Think and Grow Rich, and as I'm going through it, I did use it. I did use it this time too, the beginning especially. I'm like, I'm going to actually use it this time. I'm going through it. But I'm finding as I get towards the middle and the end, I'm like, you know what, this is such an old book. Like there's a lot of good stuff in it, but like it's an old book. It's not up to date. And I think like there's that idea and there is truth to it for sure. Like think, then grow rich. So we figure we need to think it through. We need to get in our heads more and figure it out. And I've gotten caught there many times in my business career, where I thought, well, that's how you really grow. You got to really figure it out. And any growth I've really had has all been about the inner work. It's been about connecting to my intuition. It's been like really working your business, like really working the marketing and sales, not like being lazy about it. And I don't know, for me anyway, it doesn't work. Like, yeah, people love to post. I just got $100,000 client, whatever it is, right? Okay, talk to me in 6 months. Yeah, I haven't had any clients the last 6 months. Right? That happens all the time. It's like you're not working your business. Yeah, you opened up for a minute, you got one in. Okay, but we got to work our business. So there's many components to a successful business. Everybody says it's just one thing, like it's just full of it. Like maybe one thing that like helped them finally break all the way through, right? But like it's not just one thing. And that's what I'm hearing for you too with the alchemy, right? It's not just one thing. We have to alchemize in a number of ways.
Yeah, and that we do need both strategy and intuition. Both of those are
Yeah.
required. You can't just throw one out and be like, oh, I don't need to listen to my intuition, or oh, I don't need any sort of strategy. I don't need to think anything through. I'm just going to float down the river and see what happens. I think
Right.
both of those energies, both masculine and feminine, are required, and there will be a unique path that is correct for each of us, and we have to really listen deeply to what that is.
Yeah.
It's all about
Yeah.
alignment, all about the energetic alignment.
I found like my growth, like stuff like Think and Grow Rich and, these hard-nosed teachers and sometimes like I find like that helps me. Like I need the hard-nosed teachers sometimes. Other times, no, I need to listen to more Louise Hay or whatever. Like, I mean, I need to hang out with Jesus more or whatever, I channel Jesus and stuff. It's all of it, for me. I need a bit of all of it, or a lot of all of it. And that's what seems to work best for me because I think that's true for most of us. Like we need to embody all these different, levels of our frequency, and we're actually evolving, like we're not, and my point is if you're like that one evil teacher out there, there's a lot of those, right? Like we're like that teacher's so evil, they teach all the wrong things. Okay, but like are they about and how are they in your shadow? Like how do they relate to your shadow around like what you're not willing to look at or embody? Because there always is that, right? However they're being, there's part of it you need more of, right? Maybe you don't want to do all their stuff because that's probably not a match. But there's more of like something about them you're meant to embrace. And if we don't, open up ourselves to see that, we just stay stuck. We just keep complaining there's evil teachers out there. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah. And I think whenever we're comparing or complaining or judging another, that is, as you say, it's an invitation to look inside ourselves.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So it sounds like you do a great job with that. And so, as far as like, so yeah, I mean, strategy, guys, probably, you're starting to realize this if you've been struggling with the idea. Well, it's just one strategy away. But again, people like Melanie and me and many others, we've been at it probably longer than most of you. I've been at it since what, 2006 online. I've been online. And it's like, yeah, every time I've tried to go down the pathway of leaning more into just strategy alone, never works. And I hear that from everybody. All the spiritual entrepreneurs tell me that. Yeah, it never works. It only works when like my angels are singing when the strategy comes to me, right? Like that's the only time it works. So for me, offering a lot of energy scans or, strategic energy scans too, but like that's what always has worked for me. And that works for a lot of my clients too that learn how to do this scanning and stuff. But like, it's only when the angels are singing that's the path. That's why, like, for me, and I'd love to hear how you do it. Like, I love, like, with Ayurvedic and everything, like, it's a perfect background. Melanie has a perfect background for that. And like, we tune in, right? We're looking at you, who you are, what's going to work for you. So tell us about how you go about that. I'm sure it's your intuition, but you have certain an approach to that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I would say, first of all, that I'm I learned a lot through trial and error, through not
Sure.
listening to my intuition, through investing in the thing and then feeling contracted and then, investing so much money and then feeling exhausted after and recognizing like, wow, that and looking back, where did I get off track? At what point did I get excited about the results
Mhm.
that someone
Mhm.
was promising me? And that's, I think, what happens a lot is people do get excited because if the person is a good salesperson, they're going to make it sound easy and that, oh, this is the only thing you need and everything will be okay.
Press the button, you're done. Yeah. Yeah.
Because never for me. So I have to say, quite honestly, that for me, it was through the contrast of knowing now or getting better at how it feels when I'm disconnected and
Yeah.
looking at like, where am I making this decision from? Am I making this decision from lack, fear, scarcity, or am I making this decision because spirit might guide us to learn with someone or train with someone or learn a strategy, but it's a different depending where that motivation is coming from. So now
Hmm.
I ask myself, and I feel, I would say it's more a felt sense for me uh,
Hmm.
than anything. Um, when it feels expanded, when it feels light, and the minute it starts to feel resistant, my ego mind in previous times told me like, oh, it's like just go through the motion. This person's the authority. Just do
Right.
what they say, follow what they say. And I recognize in retrospect that, wow, my whole inner being knew this is not my path. But I kept going, telling myself, well, maybe it's just uncomfortable because it's new or because they're asking me to do something that I don't really want to do. And exactly, I didn't really want to do it. But I thought that, oh, well, this is what I have to do to get the outcome. And I think
Right.
that's the fallacy is that the outcome will come, the success will come when we're in alignment with ourselves, not in someone else's alignment.
Right. Exactly. I'm not worth it. I don't know what I'm doing. They know they're worth it. They know what they're doing. I'll just follow what they've done, and somehow that's going to work, you
And
know?
a lot
And
of the times we don't know who they are, we don't know their background. I've been in business 26 years, and someone might come along and be like, "Oh, I made X amount of dollars," and they've been in business for 3 years or 2 years, and maybe like
yeah.
you said earlier they get that hit, but can they
Yes.
sustain it? Do they have the
Yeah.
tenacity and the rigor to sustain? There
Right.
will be
Yeah.
ups and downs.
Oh yeah.
There
Yeah.
will
I
be.
mean, they've both been around long enough to see people, flame out at seven, eight figures or whatever figures, right? All different figures. People that were big names a long time ago. There's some of those, not all of them, of course, but like there's certain ones I remember they were just dominating everywhere. And then all of a sudden, like, where'd they go? Like they're gone, like that happens all the time. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's one of the things I actually listened to an AI program of Napoleon Hill's is one part of this way I strengthen myself. It's actually good. I feel like it's a good one. And he often says, yeah, don't be paying attention to the fast wins other people are getting because you don't know what's behind that, if it's even real. So even the AI Napoleon Hill talks about so we can trust it, right? But anyway, but my point is like, yeah, I mean, real sustainable success. Yeah, I mean, we have to go way deeper with, you don't have the grounding and rooting in your being, and you're not coming from that place of connection. You know, either going to live a very embattled life of, business growth and whatnot and all that, or, and that's not going to happen for a spiritual entrepreneur. They're not just not going to do that path. They're just not going to happen. So then you're not going to make the money, you're not going to grow. But yeah, the sustainable path for a spiritual entrepreneur type is we have to do it from alignment or it's not going to happen. It just won't. We wish it could be easy as like not we could bypass all the work, but it's yeah, we just do the system. We don't have to do any of that inner work. Yeah, nope, not gonna happen. And if you get success for a while, my experience is yeah, it doesn't last. It's sugar high, they call it, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Or that we can't, and this is part of what I work with my clients on, is they might get that success in whatever way that looks for them, but the capacity to hold that
Right,
frequency is not yet established. And that's where we see
right,
people that rise up, maybe they hit something and then they dip back
right,
down or crash back down because the deeper identity wasn't transformed. So they
right.
couldn't hold it energetically. And I don't like that word hold because I think when we are it, we don't have to hold it at all because we are
Yeah,
just in that frequency. But um,
yeah,
the
yeah,
sustainability is important. Otherwise, there be burnout, exhaustion,
yeah.
frustration. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen people, yeah, make six figures and uh, I made 100,000 last quarter. Then I've taught, friends of mine, even I'm not naming them, so it's not really a big deal for me to share. I'm like, and years later, I'm talking to them again. I'm like, how's it going? Yeah, I made like $2,000 in my business or whatever, some really low amount. Like I made like $2,000 all last year. And it wasn't they were sick. They just like they were just in a whole different space where they're trying to, deal with all their inner work. That's what it comes down to. They're trying to do all this spiritual inner work. And then they have to rebuild again, right? So it's better to do that work up front, as much as you can at least. And because, I know like that's what part of what, caps all of our success, mine included. Like that's why I'm doing the investing and doing the things I'm doing. I continue to grow and expand what's possible for me. Because yeah, I mean, if you've got a big vision or you're a spiritual rock star type, you want to really hit it hard. So if you want to do a big impact, your next level, then you're going to have to expand your capacity. And yeah, stabilize is a good word for it. For example, embody, is another one, right? We have to really embody it. And yeah, and to take, for me, what I've had to learn is patience because I'm a manifesting generator, human design. So I'm just like, oh, what are we wasting our time for? Let's just get this all done right now. Like, and then, but it doesn't stabilize, like like I've had, I've done well, but like I'm saying, like if I operated that way all the time, I could grow like insanely, like fast, but then it wouldn't last. It wouldn't last because I would need a stabilization. So I think you have to have patience, and I haven't had the patience sometimes. I'm like, wait a minute, but what happens is like I need money now is what happens to people too. And then they start making poor choices for the business, and then they never really break through. They're always just barely trying to hang on, right? And so that's another symptom that the tactics, the strategies, the hoping it's just gonna somehow solve itself is not gonna happen, right? So that's where you come in, Melanie, to help these healers and the types. You definitely have embodied the journey of the pain of it, so you get to teach it about how to rise up now.
Might as well be used for it's fertilizer, right? Like
Right,
people use
right,
that as fertilizer for not just my own growth, but for
right,
others as well. And why not?
right, right. Now, I know you have a free gift for everybody today. Do you want to share that with them right now?
Sure, yeah. If listeners are interested, I've got an Activate Abundance. It's a theta healing audio meditation that works on the subconscious mind to help reprogram these beliefs that may be clogging up the channels and clogging up the flow. And it's my gift to you.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. So we'll put that in the show notes. And I mean, maybe not because you maybe shouldn't take advantage. I mean, Melanie really like try to hard sell you on that gift. So I don't know if you should, go with
I'm
that.
such a the truth is I'm such a terrible salesperson for myself. But
But
here's
it
what I
should
will
make it, but that brings the trust factor way up. She's like, oh, okay, well, that was really clean, right? So it's like, okay, maybe this is a true teacher for me then, right? Like I need to actually, she's clean, in her energy. I want to go ahead. I could feel a theta in her energy. I can want to get that, and I want to feel that, I want to feel the shift in it. So yeah, so if you want to feel that, get the gift.
yeah, the truth is
Activate that abundance. Yeah.
I would hope by this point in the conversation, people have already decided if that would resonate with them or not. And uh,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like there were so many years that I felt like a used car salesman. Like that's how I interpreted my own self, and
Yeah.
it probably never came across like that, but it was that feeling. And I definitely am not interested in convincing anyone, but I am interested in
Yeah.
inviting people. And I would love if people are invited into this deeper healing. We need to rise up together. We need to really look inwards and remember the truth of our existence and the truth of who we are when we are living from that wholeness and from that place. And that gift is my contribution to others to support them in that path and on that journey.
Well, my experience of you, Melanie, and we'll do the energy scan then is like because of your softness, you have fierceness, like, I can feel that too, but you have because of your softness, people just are like they just melt is the feeling I get. They're just like, oh, I just can just relax and just share everything with Melanie. And she just listens and she asks all the right questions. It gets me all the right answers by asking the right questions. And oh, of course I want to work with her, like, so yeah, you don't have to convince because like people just will come to that state and you're open and receptive enough to receive that from them, them wanting to work with you. So it works. It works. Your style works. All of our us just being us is what works. But
So
I just wanted to have fun with the fact that the way you put it out was so like just boom, here's the gift. Like kind of. I'm exaggerating, but like it wasn't like that. But like I just thought it was really kind of interesting and cool, and I'm like, guys, if you can't trust that pitch, you can't trust any pitch. Like you're allergic to all pitches. Like,
I
so
am too, and
anyway,
that's probably why I'm sensitive to it because I am allergic to pitches, but I'm
right,
also attuned to energy. So now, and this is hopefully helpful for the listeners, like when you listen to someone's energy
yeah,
underneath the promises, underneath, I don't promise anything ever because I feel like
yeah,
disempowers
right,
people, but
right,
when you go to work with a coach or maybe sign up for someone that's going to teach you how to do a funnel, whatever it is, but listen
right,
beneath the words, listen to the energy, ask questions of the person, before
right,
if there's if it's not known, but trust that you are being guided to the correct people that will help to elevate and expand you. And if that's your prayer,
right,
if your prayer is like, life, please guide me to the ones who can support in my growth, in my success, in my
right.
evolution, in my expansion, in my healing, then in the sincerity of our prayer and our intention, then we will be guided to the correct people.
Yeah, you have to listen really carefully. This was through a client of mine I was working together with in partnership with this agency, but it was a ad agency basically. They're like, so it's an example of like getting bedazzled by the results. Wow, everybody's getting results. Look at all these testimonies. They had a lot of great testimonies. Like, yeah, it's like, here's our 90% plus hit their KPIs. And it sounds impressive, but I was too stupid to ask exact. I had a sense of what KPIs are, key performance indicator. I'm like, okay, sure, okay, that sounds like results or getting results. I never like deep dive what that meant. And then then we got deep into it after a lot of work and a lot of suffering. Finally found out they're like, "What are you complaining about? We're hitting the KPIs." I'm like, "We have no sales, but we're hitting the KPIs on our side. We're doing everything we're supposed to be doing. In other words, they would put us up as one of their clients that's succeeding, but we're getting no sales. And they're like, "Well, that's on your end." Like they literally just said, no, that's on your end. We're successful on our end. I'm like, oh my God, this is what goes on in this industry. And I have no one to look at other than me and, the business, the business owner too. But like, look at ourselves and be like, oh, we kind of messed up here. We didn't listen deeply enough to investigate. We got bedazzled by the results. And when we looked under the hood, it wasn't what we thought it was. And so, guys, it can happen to any of us. So yeah, we all have to be more vigilant, especially these days. It's so many things there that just, hey, we're going to save everything, take it, save your life. This thing's going to work. And you can get swept up really fast. So that's a really good point you made there, Melanie. I just want to double down on that one because a lot of us get really hurt, emotionally and in so many different ways, by such chicanery, I want to say. But
Yeah, I definitely felt, I think a lot of, I don't know if it was shame or guilt or through being bedazzled, as you say, by
yeah,
people, exact same story, results, 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 and
right,
not having the wherewithal to ask the poignant questions at the time.
yeah,
And yeah, feeling very disappointed and feeling a little bit risk exhausted, like, oh, I'm so exhausted to take another risk. But the thing is, we have to continue to
mhm,
lean in. We have to continue to step forward. But I can appreciate that feeling of the fear that comes after we've had these experiences of investing a lot and feeling let down. And this is also the thrill of the adventure of entrepreneurship. If we think it's just going to be success, 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 that's not true. So
mhm,
we get to use it as our spiritual journey. It's the best spiritual journey we'll ever be on is the journey of entrepreneurship because it's a ride.
yeah.
It's such a ride.
It is. It is. It's really intense. I've always been a roller coaster guy myself. Not these days. My body doesn't like it anymore. But I was always a roller coaster guy. So yeah, I like that. Like I'm the type of guy. I'm like on the roller coaster. I'm like, everybody's like, ah, I'm like, yeah, like, because I just like the intensity of it, you know. I love the intensity of a roller coaster ride. So it's similar, you know, the entrepreneurial ride is definitely similar. So, all right, well, we could go on for hours here, looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and just transition briefly for an energy scan spotlight with Melanie, get a couple of downloads for her through my energy scanning of her and then, guys, it's probably going to be something that for you, just like the rest of the podcast, right? So make sure you listen in and you might learn something more. That's, you know, you'll be like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. I see that in Melanie too. That's an awesome thing, you know. So, all right. So, Melanie, if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and just share a couple of things briefly. Are you ready?
Yeah. Do I need to do anything?
No, no, no. Just relax, and I'm just going to tune in. And I've already been getting some downloads I wanted to share with you, but I just tune in again formally. Mm. Yeah, I don't know. I keep seeing it like this intro. I don't know what to call it, but like something on the wall, and it's almost like feel it's like a map, a web of lines going this way and that way, and maybe you'll even know what it is. Like sometimes, like I'm describing something they already, you know, the person's already doing, and like you're like, this connects to that, and this connects to this, and so like what I was getting is so many levels on that, but like one of them is like this. I think there's people. Yeah, I know who. I won't mention the person's name because I'm not here to advertise them. But like, there's somebody out there with this title, I think for sure. But it's like I get like you're like a soul architect or something like that. You're like, I could see this, I could see that. I say, let's draw up the plans, and you're sitting there like, I don't know if you literally map it out physically or not, but like it's sort of like that's the vibe. Like, you're like looking at this, and there's like this web energy of like in a good way, not like in a bad way. Oh, put you right in a web. No, no, it's a good thing. It's like a spiritual activator map, if anything. I mean, like, so it's a good thing. And so that's one thing I noticed. That's really just a very interesting piece. Let me just see what else is. That was a stronger piece. It's really very, very strong, that energy. Very clear to me. Um, so wow. Yeah, you know all these stories because you've done a lot of stuff, but yeah, I mean, wow, there's a lot of past life stuff going on here. And um yeah, I get definitely, you know, that beheading energy is very strong. The energy healing, I mean, you are just an amazing energy healer, you know. I think like nobody would like know that, like based on the show so far. Like they heard you're a healer, but like you're an amazing energy healer. Like I see the energy in your hands and they're showing me like how this is through a number of lifetimes very strongly as well. So yeah, I mean, I think like the head coming off thing is again, I always say this to people, but for you it's like extra, like that is like you saying like I'm done with all this mind stuff. Just chop the damn thing off, like you know, like indirectly, right? Like just chop the thing off. I could be without this head, and maybe that would be probably my preferred sometime. And you like your brain, but I'm just saying at one level, like this level of wanting to let go is so deep and so beautiful, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I do get Jesus energy, like in your lower, like a sacral energy activation, which is a little unique because usually I see it first in the heart. So that's interesting. And so there's many other interesting things we could go through, but I just wanted to share a couple of downloads for you. But like that's so common, that one with the head chopped off and the desire to just be fully connected, fully ascended, fully the healer and that, you know, what they showed me too is like you're kind of, there's a part of you still is, and I think it's true for a lot of us, you're still kind of running from the super powerful galactic healer you are, or whatever, you know, whatever label we want to use, and that there's more there that wants to come through. And once you're ready to stand in the power of that, and then it'll be happening, of course. So, but anyway, so yeah, I'd love to hear your reflections briefly on what came through.
Yeah, that resonates so much. I feel like that is an edge that I'm at. Well, first of all, the part of the mapping, that's one of my gifts is seeing an individual's patterns, so to speak,
Yeah, yeah,
and the limitations and the story beneath the story. I'm a
mm,
projector in human design
yeah,
and have that splenic authority, so I get downloads really quickly. I get that hit of even if someone's speaking, I can hear whether it's the ego speaking or the what's underneath that, and that is very helpful for my clients because I can cut
mhm,
through like that
right.
sword. Just think of like Archangel Michael with the sword, or just cutting through, slicing through. And I appreciate you saying about the healing. I feel at my essence that's who I am and why I came here. And I feel like I'm on that precipice of that next iteration, that next level. And it requires claiming the personal power that is within me and no longer shying away from that, no longer shrinking myself,
Mhm.
or even if it's subtly, but to
Mhm.
really honor life by being fully who I came here to be.
Yes, 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 yes,
Thank
yes,
you
yes.
so much.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm grateful that landed. And everybody, if you want to, check Melanie out again, grab her gift, and you're going to be activated. And you definitely want to be paying attention to Melanie for sure. And then if you want to check me out, you can go, I don't know if you really want to do that. She's so awesome. But you can go to, your your
Daniel,
sacred. I have to have fun with it. Okay, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate and make money meditation. And then you'll stay up to date with the content, that I put out to help you guys as spiritual entrepreneurs. And what you hear here is what you get, through the emails. Like I share these interesting perspectives sometimes and practical stuff too. And then I've got, different things coming up all the time, different calls I might offer to help activate you guys through the scanning I do and everything. And because yeah, I do the scanning, I do the energy healing, I do like basically help you to build your business, of course, as well. Usually from a foundational level on up, because again, if we don't take it from the foundation up, then it's probably going to fall apart. So, so if you want to check me out, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. And Melanie, I want to give you the last word for the show. Any last words of wisdom for the audience?
I just want to say thank you to you. And what I would leave with the listeners is just listen to your heart. I know that can sound trite, but that presencing and that deep feeling into the heart will not lead you astray. It might take you on a whimsical round the bend ride, but you're never off your path. You can't be off your path. You're always loved and protected and guided. And we need the healers, we need the conscious ones to rise up and to be fully here and fully activated at this time. So yay.
Yay! Yes, yes, yes. All right, fantastic. I'm so grateful for who you are and the service you bring and the energy you're bringing forth and helping all these healers, especially and spiritual entrepreneurs and all such. Right. So thank you so much, Melanie, for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Daniel.
And thanks to all our listeners. Keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time. For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.